And we are back. It is episode 4. Raul Marquez is Punchy with Lupe Contreras. I am your host, Lupe Contreras. And of course, we've got our star of the show, the one and only, the former 1992 U.S. Olympian, former junior IBF Super Welterweight World Champion, the former Showtime broadcaster, and God knows what else he got into this particular weekend, Mr. Raul Marquez. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Lupina. Had a great weekend. My friend's party had a birthday party. David had a birthday party. It was really nice. I was networking there for actually here in Kingwood where I live. So I was networking, for my new gym coming up here in Kingwood, Raul Marquez Boxing Studio. Then Sunday I had family time, with the kids and my wife, like always. And that's about it, man. How was your weekend, Lupina?
Oh wow! Look at this. I'm in shock. You actually care what I was doing. I was at a birthday party too. My niece, her 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 firstborn turned 2 years old. I
Right.
guess that makes him my grandnephew, which really it makes me feel super old. So I don't really like using those two words together. So yeah, so my party was a little bit different than yours. I saw some of your footage. You were like in a really fancy mansion. There was like a swimming pool, music playing. There was even lights that were going up in the sky like some
Lupita,
sort of nightclub.
they had a band there. It was a concert,
Wow.
dude. They had a live
Wow.
band there, really nice music. I By the way, I got to meet Jose Cruz Jr. I don't know if you know Jose Cruz, the dad from the Astros.
I was an Astros
Uh,
buddy, man. I've been going to the Astros since I think my first game was like 1979. Yeah, we used to
okay.
we used to, we used to try to bat like Jose Cruz. Remember he put the bat up
Yes,
really high in
yeah,
the air and do
yeah.
that?
We
Yeah,
had
we
those
would
con-
pretend to be him.
yeah, we had those conversations. We were talking about boxing and baseball since Liam plays baseball. He says just keep make sure he just keeps having fun. It's all fun right now when they're little and then plus they're Puerto Rican, Lupina, so they love boxing, man. He said his dad would used to make him watch all the fights back in the days, and he's like, I like baseball. I didn't want to watch boxing, but yeah, it was good conversations. It was a fun party, and like I said, I did a lot of networking, which is that's what I do best. You know me, Lupina.
Well, hopefully you can get us a sponsor and hopefully you can get us some
Yeah,
followers because right now things are looking pretty pathetic, Raul.
so
If
sad.
this was a fight, they would be calling the referee to come into the corner and check us out to make sure we're doing okay because our views are pretty low, our subscribers are low. So what we want you to do, we want you to go to Raul Marquez is Punchy with Lupe Contreras on YouTube, like, subscribe, so we can keep doing this. You can also check it out on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So click on there, make sure you like it because otherwise. Raul, you used to be on Showtime, man. You were in the Olympics. Has it come to this? Is it this sad now?
It's very sad, man. It's so sad, like I tell everybody. And yeah, so just make sure you guys join us. We have some good conversations. We like I've always said, we got 30 something years of experience. Lupina is Lupina, and I'm myself. We have very different personalities, and we've been friends for so many years. So it's kind of like a
Yeah,
marriage, Lupina. Would you
it
call
is
it?
a marriage. It's a marriage,
It is a
and
marriage.
if we were a marriage, we'd be one of those couples that fights in public. Like
Yes.
the ones you see him going at it at like Walmart or at the bank. We always, but we know some very intimate details about each other's lives. Like as a matter of fact, I found out this week that you and my dog have something in common. You and Maxie are getting lumps removed coming up in the next couple of days, right? Maxie has them in the front. You have it in the back.
In my back, yeah. I got one of those sebaceous cysts that they
That sounds
call. So I
horrible.
got one removed not too long ago. Remember, I sent you the pictures of it when they
You
got it
did. You
removed.
did.
It looked like a bullet hole. And I mean, my life is no secret. You're not the only one that knows about that. I mean, the whole
I know
world knows
you.
about
You
it.
tell everyone you have a big
I
mouth. I can't tell you anything because anything that
Right,
I think is going to be kept between us,
right.
you share with 4 or 5 different people. What I
Yeah.
tried to do, I took Maxie to the doctor. It's going to cost me. This is the most expensive free dog I've ever had.
Lucky dog.
I'm probably about $4,000 into this dog with getting
Jesus.
teeth removed, uh,
Can you
all
donate
sorts of.
some of that? Hey, can you donate some of that money? Because I'm gonna get the other one taken out on Wednesday, bro. And I need some feria, bro.
I was
Like
trying
I
to get
said,
you to do a 2-for-1 deal with the vet. I mean, bring you and Maxie in. They do the front on him. They do the back on you. You wouldn't take my offer. I told you I removed one myself. It
oh,
was like,
you gotta, hey, tell them a story about that, man. That's
okay,
very
so
risky. hold on. That's Mexican style. That's not even Mexican style. That's Reynosa, Tamaulipas style, bro.
That's Rambo style.
It could have
Okay,
got
I had
infected,
one.
dude.
I had one. It was of all places. It's a little embarrassing. It was on my butt cheek. It was on my right butt cheek. And so when I would fly, I would feel it. And the longer the trip was, the more irritated it would get. So one day I just said, you know what, I've had enough. So I was kind of embarrassed to go to the doctor about it, because I didn't want to be sitting there, face down with my butt up in the air and some people I don't even know looking at my butt.
What
So
if it was some? What if it was some hot girls or some hot chick? Would it be
even
different?
worse, even worse, that's even more embarrassing. So what I did was, people are gonna freak out. So I took a razor blade and I what do you call it? Disinfected the area with some alcohol. I took the razor blade and I just kind of gritted my teeth and I said, slap. I sliced it. And I thought it was going to pop open and everything was going to come out. It didn't do that. All that happened was the skin split open and you could see the thing underneath it, right? So I was like, damn, I'm already halfway through this. I might as well go all the way through it. So Rambo style, man. I just grabbed it with my hands and I
Man,
squeezed and snap.
ah,
It pops. And the most god awful smell came out of it. It was like rotten hamburger meat. So I got all of it out,
being that. Come
cleaned
on,
it,
man.
cleaned it out with like
Sick, bro.
hydrogen peroxide. Sprayed it with some of that coagulant to make sure that it would stop bleeding. Put a band-aid on it. Boom. That was good, man. Saved me. How much did they charge you the first time to get the other one removed? It was close to $1,000, wasn't
Close to
it?
$1,000, man. Close to $1,000. They're expensive with being
Wow,
taken out.
wow.
Hey, you would
It's
be
not.
good for that show Survivor, dude.
I think I
Right?
would. I
Yeah.
think I would. I'm like a modern day survivor. No matter what happens, I keep surviving. When
Yeah.
people think I'm dead, remember the guy thought I was dead from COVID because he hadn't seen me on TV in a while.
Yes. But who
He
brought
came
you
up to me.
back? Who brought you back on Showbox? I brought you back
Raul,
on Showbox.
Raul El Diamante Marquez brought me
Yeah.
back. But anyway, enough about our mundane lives. It is time for what we like to call the main events. And Raul, there can only be one main event. It's something that kind of has been being bantered about for quite some time. From what we find out now, Canelo and Crawford, a lot of announcements have been made. It was going to be part of the TKO venture with Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White.
Yeah.
Now we don't know if it's going to be a part of that or not. One thing we do know, it's no longer going to be Friday, September 12th. Now they're saying they're going to move it to Saturday, September 13th, which kind of complicates a lot of things because originally it was supposed to be, obviously taking place in Las Vegas. They were going to
Yeah.
make it the first event to take place at the beautiful Allegiant Stadium there, right across from the Mandalay Bay. It's a big football stadium. They were going to be doing it in conjunction with Dana White. Dana White famously is not a big fan of stadium shows, and I have to agree with him.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of stadium shows as well. How about you?
Yeah, I agree, man. Remember what was it? Manny Pacquiao Margarito, right here in Dallas. The ring is in the middle of the football field, Lupina, and pretty much, only the guys the people that are on the floor ringside, they get a good view of the fight. And all the other ones, you're watching the fight up on the the big old screen, whatever it's called. They're watching the fight on there. For the fighters, the walkouts, it takes like, minutes longer, obviously, to get to the corner. And then, if you're the first one to walk out and you're waiting there for the champion to walk out, you got to stay warmed up because it's a process before they get there. They play the national anthem and all that stuff. I'm not, I agree with Dana. I'm not a big fan of the big stadium shows like that.
I've done a few stadium shows. I've done Yankee Stadium where
Yeah.
Miguel Cotto had a fight there
Hmm.
against Yuri Foreman. I did a couple of them at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I did the first Pacquiao against Claudio, and then Pacquiao against Margarito. And it's a very different experience. The one thing I do like is the fact that it does allow more people to be part of the event where
Right.
you've got 60, 70,000 people that can fit in the arena. So you're able to put some of the price points much lower than you would, say, at a T-Mobile or an MGM Grand Arena. But what you do realize is once you're there at the venue, it's not that great. If you
It's
looked at
far
some of the
away.
footage we showed, yeah, it's far away. If you look at some of the footage that we showed from Dallas Cowboys Stadium or from Allegiant Field, you're a
Yes.
good. If you're in the cheapest seat in the house, you're at least a good 60, maybe 70 yards away from center ring. And like you mentioned, what you end up doing, you just end up looking at the big jumbotron,
Yes.
and you might as well have stayed at home if that's what you're going to do.
And let me tell you something. You're paying a hefty price for those seats that are far away, Lupina. What are they running? I mean, at least $500, $750, 350. You're going with your couple or a couple of people. I mean, that's then you're drinking beer. The food gets expensive. I mean, you're better off watching the fight at home, and you're gonna get a way better view of it in your own living room.
Yeah, it really does work out that way.
Yeah,
And I know Turkey Al Sheikh has been big on doing these unique venues, but I think what happens is once you get to the event, you get over the venue very quickly. You know, I know when I did the shows there at Cowboy Stadium, I had never been there before. It's a spectacular venue, but it's designed for football. It's not designed for a more intimate
exactly.
setting like you
Yeah,
would want for a boxing match. So the questions now arise: where is it going to take place? They talked about various options that they might land in Las Vegas. It can't be at Allegiant Stadium because I looked up
no,
the schedule for Allegiant Stadium. You
uh-huh.
got UNLV is going to be playing a game against Idaho State on Saturday night there at the football stadium. So they
Right,
can't do it there. It's they can do a pretty quick turnaround from taking it from a boxing arena to a football stadium, but not that quickly. I don't think they're going to go into T-Mobile. They're not going to go into the NGM Grand because I just think it's kind of an antiquated arena that it doesn't have the prestige, it doesn't have the size of some of the other
right.
venues. And then you run into some of the weird questions as well, where Canelo's a businessman. He
Yeah,
knows that if you go into
Texas,
California, yeah, you go
Texas,
into New York, the taxes get pretty steep.
LA. You go into California también. They want to do it in LA, the Staples Center, or what's the other big stadium called? They go in there. I mean, you did it in California, Texas. You did it.
SoFi.
What about Texas? What about Texas?
Texas does give you an opportunity. There are no taxes in Texas.
Right.
I didn't look into what the schedule was for Cowboy Stadium, but it is the start of right where football season started to begin. Late August, early September. There may be some exhibition games going on, or those venues get booked pretty quickly now. They get booked, a
Yeah.
year, 6 months in advance. So it's not like you can just say, "Hey, we want to go into Dallas Cowboy Stadium," and the
Yeah.
deal
You're
gets
right.
done. It also brings up a lot of other questions there, and basically it's just speculation. The only people who really care about this tend to be boxing people and the insiders who are trying to figure out, okay, so who's going to promote it? Is Dana still involved? Is there a problem between Turkey and Dana? What are your thoughts on it? Obviously, Dana's the guy who, you know, as I mentioned to you off air, he's not a soldier. He's a captain. He's a guy who
Oh,
wants to be in charge. And Turkey seems
absolutely.
to be the same type of personality.
Yeah. I mean, and as you can see, man, you see the shirt I'm wearing, Lupina. I'm Dana team all the way, guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Slurp, slurp.
yeah, yeah. Hey, no, but listen, Dana, he's a promoter. You've seen the work that he's done with the UFC, and when he promotes, he does a really good job of it, and he likes to control, like you said, he likes to control the promotion, even the production, the talent, who's doing all. He's a guy that likes to control everything. You can't blame him because he's done a really good job, and I just think, whatever's going on, like, all this talk about that supposedly Dana's might be out of the promotion now because Turkey, changed the dates, and they saying that the date might land now, and the fight might land in Saudi Arabia. Think about it, Lupina. A fight in Saudi Arabia, Canelo and Crawford. It just, I don't know, man. It doesn't sound right to me in front of what, uh, 1,500 people, 1,000 people at 6 o'clock in the morning, bro. It doesn't make
It takes
sense,
away a
dude.
lot of
I
the
don't want to see
sizzle
that.
from it. It takes away a lot of the sizzle. One of the reports coming from our good friend Ricardo Celis last night, who said that it looks like it may be going to Riyadh. How accurate that is, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, at this point, there's a lot of speculation. Everybody's speculating as to why it's going on, what the issues are coming up. When you talked about Dana, obviously you said Dana knows talent, he knows entertainment. Say what you will about his personality or the way he does business, but the guy knows how to get results. And another issue that
Yes.
comes up, they have one of their signature events that particular weekend as well, which is Noche UFC, where they showcase on a lot of the Mexican talent. It's supposed to be happening in Guadalajara. They're building a new stadium there. There's some questions as to whether that stadium will be ready. So they're saying that perhaps it lands in Vegas. And if anybody has pull in Vegas, it's Dana. So if you're going to
Oh,
go
absolutely.
with
Yeah.
Dana in Vegas, you're going to lose.
Oh yeah, Dana. I mean, not too long ago, he had a noche event there in Vegas, and it was successful, man. Even some of the boxing people were going to his event before they went to the main boxing event. So yeah, you're right. I mean, Dana has a lot of power in Vegas, and honestly, I hope they come to an agreement. I think Dana and the Turkey guy. I mean, I think they're good for boxing. I just think. I mean, look, it's two wealthy guys. They have a lot of pride. They have a lot of egos. I'm sure they're not agreeing on certain things, but I think both of them together, Lupina, I think it's a good thing for boxing. So I hope they get it sorted out. Even if they're not gonna work together in this next fight, I hope they still work together on bigger events and also that boxing league that we're talking about. And they need to put the egos and pride, whatever's holding them back. I mean, Lupina, look, what I'm probably worth what, like 10, 15 times more than you, something like that. And me and you,
Possibly, yeah.
hey, hey, how many
Asshole, man. You're just an
hey,
asshole.
Lupina, how many disagreements do me and you have?
On a weekly
I
basis, at least three or four.
Hey, me and you, hey, you're Reynosa, Tamaulipas, hard headed. I'm by Hermosa, Tamaulipas, hard headed. But we always come to an agreement, man. And look, we're here. Why? Because we come to agreement. So if
At least once a week, we sign a contract to have a fight at your gym, and then the fight never quite happens. Oh, speaking of contracts, before I
wait,
forget,
I owe you the bet. Don't I, wait, you won. I
let's
was wrong.
clarify since we're talking about Canelo.
Yeah,
I was correct. The fight took place in Las Vegas. Canelo was God, now I forget the Cuban's name. Give me his name.
Islam de Lara.
Eddie Lara. That's right.
Yeah,
It took
Lara.
place.
I
It
thought it
took
was
place
also in
in
trial.
Las Vegas. Yeah, you got
It
the
was
two guys
also in
confused.
trial.
And
Yeah, in San Antonio. It was also tried in San Antonio, but it was Lara in Las Vegas. And yes, you won the bet. I'm gonna take you out to eat, but I want people to know when I lose bets to Lupina and I take him out to eat, this guy orders like an appetizer. He orders a full entree, like
And you know
two
I
full
can eat. You
entrees.
know, if there's one thing I can do, I can eat. I can eat my weight
Oh yeah,
in food, whatever might be in front of me. So
he takes
that is
advantage of it.
settled. If you had to guess, where does this fight land? What do you think happens?
Man, what they're talking about, there's a lot of rumors that it's gonna probably land in Saudi Arabia, Lupina. I'm hoping, you know what? I'm hoping it lands in Texas. I'm gonna go for Texas, man. What do
And
you
I know
think?
you'll be calling people trying to get your free tickets because Raul does not pay for tickets. I think I'm leaning towards. I think it probably ends up in Saudi Arabia because
Yeah,
I think people want control. People want to be able to have full reign over what's happening.
yeah,
And I think when you have the two protagonists involved, I really don't think they care where it happens. But I think it would be sad if the fans don't get to participate
right.
in a fight of this magnitude, a fight with historic implications. So I think that is a shame. But moving on, speaking of other fights and speaking of venues getting announced, this July 19th, the venue has been announced for NYC. It obviously the card that we're referring to. It's Berlanga will be facing off against Hansa Shiraz. They had a press conference this past week, and the venue that they've chosen is Louis Armstrong Stadium there in Queens, New York. If you're not familiar with the venue, it is one of the tennis arenas that's part of the giant complex where they have the U.S. Open, and it's kind of an understated arena, but I think it's a good choice for this particular event.
I agree. I mean, it's a obviously it's not a big. I mean, it's not a stadium like a football stadium. I think it's different. It brings a different excitement to the boxing crowd in general, and try to not just get the boxing crowd, get other people interested in boxing. Uh, I could see the ring in the middle of the tennis court. Uh, I look forward to that. I think it's going to be a huge event, and I think it should be successful.
It's a great place for it. You've got
Yeah,
Berlanga, who's a New York guy. Obviously, he's a very proud Puerto Rican heritage. You've got Shakur, who is from just across the Hudson River in Newark, New Jersey. And
right.
it's not a massive venue. It's a venue that, if you look there, it's probably maybe right around 10,000 people.
Perfect.
Uh, it's an open air arena. Typically, that time of year in New York, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. So I
Yeah.
think it works out.
And
And
it's
I
different,
think
you know. I mean, I don't
it
think,
is different.
yeah. When has a fight been held in the middle of the, you know, like in a tennis court? I think and that's what makes it different. So it's gonna be fun.
Actually, one thing you may not know is the Home Depot Center, or whatever they're calling it this particular day. That's a tennis arena as well, and it's a
Oh, that's
beautiful
right.
place for a setting. It's a beautiful setting there because there's not a bad seat in the house. The angles
Yep.
are great. Uh, it gets to be very raucous. The shape of the arena also generates a lot of great acoustics. So when the crowd goes wild, you can hear it. The only difference there it gets freezing cold at night. The one there in Carson, California, it gets really cold.
I remember
What
that.
one thing that I wanted to bring up, they did have a press conference and they were talking to the opponent of Edgar Berlanga, Hansa Shiraz, and they were
Right.
asking all the fighters about what was their Mount Rushmore of boxing, and essentially who are the four all-time greats that you would post on the Mount Rushmore of boxing, and
Yeah.
and it really kind of caught me by surprise with what his answer was, and let me play it here for you. This is Hamza Shiraz's answer when they asked him who would he put on the Mount
Okay.
Rushmore of
All right.
boxing.
Your top four, in your Mount Rushmore boxing.
So Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Edwin Valero, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Did you hear that?
Edward Edward Valero, the late
Edwin
Edward Valero.
Valero, the late,
Wow.
the notorious, the infamous Edwin Valero. And this isn't the first time that I've heard fighters kind of reference Edwin Valero. You and I both had the chance to do some of his fights. A
Yes.
great fighter, highly skilled, uh, almost
Vicious.
vicious, almost a mythical type of fighter. They would talk about some of the sparring sessions he had with Manny Pacquiao at the Wild Card
Right.
Gym. He would knock out these guys. But to call him an all-time great, that really caught me by surprise. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, he never even got there. I mean, who did he fight, Lupina? I can't go back and think of a name fighter. Maybe he fought. I think he fought this guy named DeMarco or something like that. Uh,
Yeah, he
but
fought Antonio DeMarco was his
DeMarco,
last
yeah.
fight,
But
and then
besides
prior to that,
that,
he fought
who
he fought
else?
Pitalua.
Yeah, but who? I mean, there are not big names on the resume compared to the other fighters that on the the four guys that he named. Come on, maybe he just likes his style. Maybe he likes the way he fights, which he kind of fights that way. Shiraz kind of fights like he's aggressive. He comes
He's
forward.
aggressive. He's aggressive. Does not
Can
have
be
the
vicious.
power. Yeah, does not have the power that
Nah.
Valero definitely had. But it just
Yeah.
really caught me by surprise. And it's one of those situations too where it seems it seems that people have kind of fallen in love with the myth of Edwin Valero, and then especially
Right.
with the way that everything ended. If you're not familiar with who he is, he was a world champion. He was undefeated. He was like, I think, 27-0 with 27 knockouts. Just a devastating power puncher. It
Right.
came to a very tragic and awful end where he murdered his wife and then subsequently took his own life the same day. And and
Very sad.
there's something about that appeals to fighters. I don't know if it's a morbid curiosity about who he was, what he did.
Yeah.
Granted, this happened in 2010, so he's been gone for quite some time. And I think what has occurred is I think the reality of Edwin Valero and the myth of Edwin Valero are very far apart now. And there's something about that appeals to the fighters, and I just can't put my finger on it. How about you?
I mean, no, I mean, I was about to say, I mean, what he did, outside of boxing, that's not very appealing to me. I mean, he was not right in his mind, Lupin. Anybody that does something like what he did, something was wrong. He obviously needed help, but inside the ring, yeah, you got to be vicious. You got to have power. You gotta have balls, man. It's boxing, and I love this style. He had that devastating knockout power. He was very brave in there. He came to fight. He put action fights. He was athletic. He was in shape. Too bad we didn't get to see more of him. But he definitely was a very good fighter. But being on the Mount Rushmore one of the four top fights. I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what
yeah.
I don't know how he sees it.
As we
I
say
don't
in
agree.
Spanish, se pasó. That
Se
was
pasó yeah,
Yeah, big time, big time. That
big
was way
time.
off. There was also some boxing that went on. Nothing of great note, but there was a nice little fight in the UK. You had David Allen. He KO'd Johnny Fisher, and you had two heavyweights. there are guys that perhaps are not very well known here in the U.S., but it was a nice little scrap. Fisher came in
Yeah,
undefeated. It was for the WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight title. It was kind of a nice win for Allen. He's a guy who
right.
I think on a personal note, he's been going through several issues. I think at some point he was contemplating suicide. He had a gambling addiction. He was just having a really tough time. And Fisher was being pushed as like the next big heavyweight to come out of the UK.
A lot of hype.
And yeah, Allen really turned
Big hype.
out to put on a great performance.
Yeah, it was a lot of hype for Fisher. I mean, they had already fought the first fight. Fisher won it was a split decision, but there was some controversy there. Allen had dropped him in the fifth round too, and a lot of people thought Allen won. I thought Allen probably pulled it out, but in the rematch, he didn't leave it up to the judges, man. He knocked him out in the fifth round. And I think for someone like Allen, I mean, he's got 7 losses, Lupina. So either, if Fisher, if they want a rematch, a third fight like a trilogy, because they're 1-1, they could probably make a trilogy out of it. And like Allen he needs to take the cash, man, cash in, Or I would think in an all British like heavyweight fight, there's some big name like AJ, maybe Dubois. That sounds like doable fights for Allen.
There's a lot of fights in the UK that can be made from that. They may not garner a lot of attention here in the US, but they're definitely going to get a lot of attention there in the UK. So hopefully they can make something happen with that. And it's not the end for Fisher. He's a big, strong guy, and
Right.
if he gets things together, he'll be able to recuperate.
Yeah.
Another story that came out was apparently Teofimo was calling out Boots Ennis. He's saying that he wants a piece of Ennis, and they posted some stuff up on there, and he had this little cryptic text here which says they're playing mind games on you. Make sure you sign the contract, and let's get this going. What are your thoughts on that fight if it were to happen?
Man, that's a very intriguing fight. I mean, both of those guys are high level, very high level fighters. They're very smart. The boxing IQ. It's a fight that you really, really have to break down. The power, the speed, the movement that they have. I mean, they both have very similar styles. They're both switch hitters. They move from lefty to right, right to left. They got good footwork. They're athletic. Lupina, I believe that Teofimo has probably fought better opposition, and as we saw when he's on, he's on. We saw him with Barbosa in the past. We saw him with Lomachenko. We saw him with Taylor. I just thought he's fought better guys. Now that's not taking it away from Duran Ennis, because when I saw Duran Ennis, I covered him a bunch of times on Showtime. I covered him on Showbox. When he was coming up, I was like, man, I was very impressed by him. I said, this guy is got the goods. He's very skillful. The way he moves, the way he moves so fast inside the ring when he's moving righty to left, left to right. I was very impressed, and with that also came power. But I think he's been a little bit carefully matched, Duran Ennis. But I would love to see that fight. I would love to see that fight. A fight between Teofimo and Ennis would be a very interesting fight. Of course, Teofimo will be coming up to 147, but Teofimo, he's been wanting to come up to 147 for the longest, and I can't say Duran Ennis is like a big guy, because even when he started as his career, he fought as low as 141, 143. So I think it's a legitimate fight at 147, and hopefully it happens down the line.
A lot of it has been made about the level of opposition of Girones, but he's fought the guys they put in front of him.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. He's also been avoided quite a bit because he's a guy who's more dangerous than I guess popular.
right.
So to go up against him, it's almost like a lose-lose. If you lose against him, you lose to a guy who was better, and you lose to a guy that you really gain nothing from. But what do you think happens? I know a lot of people have always said that a good small fighter beats a good big fighter. Do you think that would be the case in this particular bout?
Like I said, man, it's gonna take me some time to really. I can't give you the breakdown right now, but I do tell you that they're both very evenly matched. That they're very similar style guys. I think Lopez Teofimo, he's more relaxed inside the ring with his style. Like he showboats. He's very comfortable inside the ring, but Ennis has his moves too, and I think he's got more power for sure than Teofimo. But then he's got to catch him with that power. I think it's a very evenly matched fight. I would really have to put some get down and dirty and really break it down to decide who would be the winner. Once the fight happens and is signed, though, we're gonna have to revisit and really break it down.
Here's where we move on to our co-feature of the evening. And Raul, I'll be honest with you, this is when things start getting a little bit weird. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about this particular week. Obviously most of it going on outside of the ring. So I
Right.
kind of had to I kind of had to scour the internet and find some of the things that went on this particular weekend. Did you realize we had talked about it a few weeks ago? You actually
Yes.
had the Ricardo Mayorga decision, one of your old foes, Yori Boy
Right.
Campas. The fight took place in Nicaragua. Uh, it was called the Night of Champions. It was kind of like this hybrid former fighters taking on, I guess, local influencers. There were some politicians involved.
Right.
Uh, it looked like there was some of them were taking it half seriously. Yoriboy Campas seemed to be a guy who wasn't quite sure exactly what was going on. I saw some of his post-fight interviews, and he talked about that. Mayorga came in significantly larger than he was. Also on the undercard, you had Jose Luis Castillo, took place against a guy who they called Quiebra Chicara,
Wow.
whom I've never heard of. And you can see that they were both wearing shirts, so they weren't in
They didn't
the
want to show their nice
they
body
weren't
after boxing.
in the best possible shape, but it seemed to be like a fun little event. Nobody got hurt. It was kind of some for lack of a better term, was kind of like some soft sparring. The one that he did kind of the one you would expect that kind of let a punch go. I found some footage online. Check the shot that Mayorga lands on campus. They're kind of moving kind of well, and
Boom.
bam,
Wow.
bam,
Yeah,
he
I
just
saw
drops the
that.
right hand. And he
That-
wowed him quite a bit. And you look at Jordan Boy Campas, and he kind of has a look on his face like, "What's up, dude? I thought we were going to take it easy on one another, but apparently Mayorga did not get the memo." Yeah,
I'm
give me
talking
some of your
about.
thoughts. Obviously, Campas is one of your former foes, uh, and then Mayorga was a guy that you always wanted to fight. You wouldn't be involved in something like this? I mean, it looked like fun. It looked innocent. Like
It looks
nobody got
like fun.
hurt.
Yeah, I tell you what, it looks like fun. And first of all, like I did go back and look at the fight when you saw me, and I'm not gonna lie, even Mayorga did look a lot bigger, so he was probably a lot heavier than Campas. Mayorga probably didn't give a crap. He probably didn't make weight, which is something that he would always do. Not, I mean, the guy never. There was a lot of times he wasn't on weight. Yeah, it looked like fun, and Campas did get dropped. With that big right hand, and it looked like he was hurt. Uh, Let me tell you something. When there's even though they call it exhibitions, Lupina, they're gonna go at it. It's normal. Look, tell the audience when me and you're sparring. We haven't in a while. We haven't in a while.
Yeah,
But when we go to the body. We hit the arms, the body still, and we're still going full blast.
we,
I
we
mean,
have a we have a
there are
pretend
no
audience in
such
the crowd.
yeah, there are no such thing as taking it easy, Lupina. So, back to your question about Mayorga and Campas. Mayorga was kind of fast. He looked kind of, he was floating, he was moving, and then he was, you know, like I think trying to get some rest because a bunch of times he was complaining of headbutts, and he would take off for a while. I think he was getting tired. But honestly, if I fought both of them, Lupina, I would knock both of them out in the first round. So I mean, let's not even talk about that because I think I would knock both of them out in the first round.
Okay, speaking of money, how much money would it take to get you in there with either
Lupina, you
Mayorga?
you
I mean, your first fight with Yori Campas, let's be honest, it didn't go that great for you. So
no, it didn't
it's
go
something you
great.
you would definitely want to get the get back, as the kids say.
Yeah, I mean, but let's talk about what it didn't go great because I was banged up from the fight before that, the Keith Mullins fight. I had a bunch of like really bad cuts, and 3 months later, we all know, you live and learn in boxing. I should have taken off like 6 months after that fight because I was cut up pretty bad. But I had the pressure of the promoters. I wanted to get in. The payday was good. If I beat him, maybe I fight the Golden Girl, Oscar. So there was a lot of things that motivated me to get in there with Campas. But now it would take a lot, Lupin. I mean, you know, these guys do it obviously for the money because they need the money. I know Mayorga needs the money, and I've talked to Campas a couple of times, and I'm sure he needs the money too. Like me, I'm good. Like I'm good where I'm at. You know, I don't want to talk numbers, but you know my financial status, Lupin. I always throw it in your face, you know, when you talk shit to me. But it would take a lot. It really take a lot. First, I would have to talk it over with my family, but it's not gonna take 50 grand, 100,000 to get me back in the ring. Not even 200, not even 250. It'll take more than that.
Wow, not
But
even a
nobody,
Lambo.
but nobody's gonna pay that. If somebody's
Yeah, no,
willing to pay,
nobody's offering. And speaking of,
exactly.
we mentioned Castillo fought on the undercard. The fight ended. It was a technical decision that went in favor of the influencer, who I have no idea who he was.
Yeah,
There was a headbutt. As you could see, it didn't look like, at least like Castillo really took it all that seriously. That was just kind of, I guess, a nice, fun night out for him, and he got a chance to cash a nice
collect
check.
some money. Yeah,
Got a great trip down to Nicaragua. And like I said, nobody was harmed. It looked like a lot of fun. Um, he wasn't the only former world champion that was
right.
in the ring. There was another one. Acelino Popo Freitas. He beat down a guy by the name of Dara Nagle or something like that. I may be mispronouncing his last name.
Right.
Who, from what I could see, is a Brazilian actor, a guy who I think was probably talking some smack online to Freitas. And I found some footage online of the fight that was aired in Brazil, and it looks like he.
Duda tá em pé. Duda segue em pé. Popó vem a caça. Duda vai roubando a manchete.
As you can see, Raul, he's just beating this guy from pillar to post. It's one of those things where
inabalável de Duda
the guy looks like he's had everything he could possibly handle, and to give the guy credit, he did go the distance. He went all 6 rounds with
Wow.
Acelino Freitas, but towards the end there, you could tell that he was just kind of having a good time with it.
Yeah.
You know, nothing too crazy. If you could beat up one actor or somebody out there that's not a fighter, who would you like to get your hands on?
Man, you know what? I'd rather keep it to myself. They're not even actors. They're not even fighters. I'm just gonna keep that to myself, Lupina.
I know you've had some interactions. You can't fight. What's the name of that Colombian actress that really upset you that one time?
Oh, Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara.
We were
Can you
taking
tell
a
us?
picture. Well, a friend of mine he was dying to take a picture with her, dying to take and I didn't care to take honestly, I didn't care to take a picture with her, and she was like, when they're asking, ay, señora, apúrale, que va, man. So my buddy that I was with, Omar, he was like, no, because I was about to go off on her, bro. Like, she was like, man, you got a fan that wants to take a picture with you. Take the time to fucking take a picture. She was having an attitude, bro. And I was like, man, I don't need
No,
this.
she had the attitude because you couldn't work the camera. That was the
It was
problem.
taking forever. Yeah, it was I don't know whose camera it was. It was Omar's camera. Yeah, and I couldn't figure it out. So I mean, how long does it take to figure out how to press the button? So, but she was like she was in a hurry. Like, I gotta go. She was with her son, and man, I was about to go off on her, bro. You know me, I don't give a crap. So
I'm glad you held back.
yes.
And like I said, this weekend just gets even weirder. I looked up this particular footage. There's a referee by the name of Smiling Valdez. This happened in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, I saw that.
You saw that, right? It was a guy
Man,
who.
poor guy.
Well, this isn't the first time this guy is involved in this type of issue. Back I think a few months ago. Let me look up the information. If I'm not mistaken, he was involved in another incident where, yeah, it was last June. It was a fighter by the name of Julio de Jesus. He attacks Smiling, which is spelled Smaylin. I think it sounds like Smiling Valdez, but Smiling, where he stopped the fight in the second round against Angel Cruz. And
He
in that
wasn't
particular,
smiling.
he was not smiling. He was swinging. He was swinging on
Yeah.
that. He was swinging Valdez. So in that particular case, the fighter hits the ref. The ref kind of, he's like, did that just happen? And once he composes himself, he's like, oh, hell no. And he goes after that guy and starts swinging on him. In this particular footage, I'm gonna show it to you right now. The fight ended. It was a fight. If I look here, it was between. It was a bantamweight showdown. It was put on by a company called Schwan Boxing Promotions in Santo Domingo in the DR. A guy by the name of Norberto Jimenez, not Norberto, Norberto with an L,
Or Belto.
who's a former world title challenger. He was fighting off. He was fighting against undefeated Marcelino Nieves. And I tried to look up the result, and I couldn't really find it because on BoxRec it just has like a big question mark. I guess they're trying to figure out exactly what happened. The fight is over. He gets smacked, and then the audience just jumps in. And as you can see, not a whole lot of security in this particular venue. So everything goes completely wild. And
Man.
and you could tell the guy throwing the punches was not a boxer by the way he threw. He threw that
Right.
that was
Wild.
like an after school playground kind of punch.
Yeah. I mean, when things like that happen, man, you got to be prepared. Like the other day when we had the incident with Giovanni and Scooby showing up, on OTX and facing Giovanni and Scooby, he's been talking all that smack. Like, I don't know if you saw me, but I was already in my boxing position just in case, I had to throw down a little bit. I got to take care of my son. I was there, and then Arturo was there too. We were all there, and then of course my other son RJ was down and below the ring. He was ready to throw down too. I've always taught my kids, if somebody hits you once, figure out why, what's going on. If they hit you twice, Lupina, you gotta go, baby. You gotta roll. You gotta rumble, and protect yourself at all times, and be ready for anything, especially inside a boxing ring, right?
I was watching the little altercation that happened between Scooby and your family, and Gio's half brother. That was my favorite part. So Scooby walks by RJ, and of course RJ likes to talk smack. He starts
Right.
talking smack to Scooby, and then Gio's little brother comes running. Who by the way is taller than Gio. How tall is that kid? He's about
He's
maybe
at least 6'2", man, something like
he's
that. He's
about
tall.
6'3" or so. Big.
Yeah, six
He's
three.
about
He's
6'3",
tall.
about 100,
Aiden.
135 pounds.
Aiden is
Skinny,
his
skinny
name.
as hell. So I see Aiden start to charge for Scooby, and he's outside of the barricade. And the last thing I see security grabs Aiden, and he just disappears out the door, man. And you can tell he had this look on his face, like you guys are really gonna kick me out. I saw him disappear out the door, and we never saw Aiden again that particular night. Can you update me what's going on with Aiden? What happened there?
Oh, it got resolved. It just the security was doing what they're supposed to do. Like, I guess he got a little bit excited, but everything is fine now. I mean, it's part of the game, Lupina, and the family sticks with family, and he was taking up for his big bro Giovanni. We all stick together, and it is what it is.
And we move on to our final segment, the undercard, where it's basically the part of the show where we don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. And what I decided to talk about on this particular segment, Diamante, is
Yes.
as I mentioned with you, there's only four subjects you can talk about. You can talk about boxing, money, sex, relationships, and of course, Raul Marquez. One of the big trending topics, I'm not sure if you follow what's been going on with the NFL coach Bill Belichick, who's a legendary figure in football.
Right.
He is 73 years old, and he is dating a woman who is much younger than he is, and the
Right.
internet has just kind of been having a blast. So apparently, he met this woman. Depending on the reports that you see, he met her on a flight somewhere. You can see
Okay.
her here on the screen. Her first name is Jordan. It's Jordon, and there's been memes. This is a picture of them in the year 2000. You can see the age difference. This would be the cover of Madden 26, and it's him elevating his girlfriend up in the air. And I wanted to bring up this subject with you because of the fact that you have some experience with dating younger women. And what I want to call this
Right.
segment, I want to call this segment Noches de Perreo. Perreo is
Noches
like
de
a
Perreo, yeah.
it's an exotic dance. It's a dance, that kind of is very suggestive, and it also
Right.
means that you're kind of out there, kind of being a bit of a dog. So we're
Okay.
gonna we're gonna give people some insight onto or into the relationship of what it is like to date a younger woman. And so I looked up some of the comments that they had on their social media pages, and they're basically they're just going at this particular couple.
Poor
They have
guy.
questions as to what they talk about, what's going on. One particular message here, as you can see, this is Noches de Perreo. It says, "How did you meet your girlfriend?" And I'd love to know how the gold was dug. I want to put you in the situation, Raul.
Okay.
How did you meet your younger hot wife?
Well, first of all, let the people know this first, Lupina. I don't have the money that he has, right? And the age difference between them two is like 50 years apart, Lupina. Me and my wife are only 17 years apart. So it makes a big difference. She is obviously a lot younger than me. I'm 53 and Jeanette's 37. So that's about 17 years difference. But back to your question. So I met Jeanette at my boxing gym, actually. I met Jeanette at my gym. You know, she decided to take boxing classes. She went there with a group of friends.
You
And
call it the worst mistake she's ever made. She stopped at that stoplight that's right in front of your gym, and she looked over and she's like, "Hey, there's boxing lessons
yeah,
there. Let's go check it in." And her life
no,
changed forever.
actually, yeah, her life did change for her. Actually, it was the not the biggest mistake. It was the best decision she ever made in life, Lupina. Come on. But yeah, you know, we met there at the boxing gym, and she came in with a group of girls and stuff like that, and she really wouldn't pay attention to me, Lupina. And I was like, me, I was then when somebody doesn't pay attention to me, I start being mean to them. So then she started not coming to the gym because I got a message, from her sister that, yeah, well, my sister says you're kind of being mean. I said, oh, I just play around like that. She came back to the gym, and I was finding a way, Lupina, to spend time with Jeanette and talk. I didn't want to be around other girls or other people. You know how sometimes you're talking to somebody and they just come in and butt in. I'm like, man, I'm trying to talk to Jeanette, and I don't need you guys to be involved. So I offered her private lessons, Lupina. And now that Jeanette knows me, she's like, oh my God, private lessons. She
She
knows.
knows how cheap you are. You
Yeah,
give you
she
give
knows.
nothing
No,
nothing
you don't
away
call
for
that
free.
cheap, Lupita. You call that careful with my money.
You are very
Careful with
careful
my
with your
money.
money.
Yes. So,
So we've
so
we've
listen.
covered that
So,
portion. So she gets the free lessons,
and
and
I
she
got
ends
to spend
up.
more time with him. I mean, with her, I got to spend more time with her, and oh, well, she asked me, how much are your lessons? I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. She's like,
the
really? And
the
Jeanette was really
rest of
into
your
working
life, the
out.
rest
Yeah,
of your life, that's how much these lessons are.
yeah, she was into working out. So, anyways, that's how I conquered it. I was able to talk to her more and spend more time with her. So the lessons went from 30 minutes to an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then we started dating, going out, and now we have two beautiful kids, Liam and Alina, and it's an everyday job for her, and I love it.
The other question that was on the social media is like, why are you dating a 20-year-old? Obviously, she's 24 years old. How often were you getting that question? How much attention were people paying to the age difference?
Uh, you know what? I really didn't get that too much. But when I do tell people, like, yeah, well, I got divorced, my wife is younger, especially the guys, my wife is 37. And any guy you tell, like, oh, your wife is younger, oh, man, way to go. That's the way to do it. They love to hear that. Why is it, Lupina? I don't know why. I mean, but my experience with telling my story, every man that I tell, well, yeah, I started my life all over again. I had to get, you know, my wife didn't have any kids, so we had kids together, and they're little. They keep me going. They keep me young. And well, how old is your wife? Oh, well, I'm 53. She's 30. Oh man, good job, man. Oh,
They give
way
it,
to
they give it
go.
the fist bump.
You're the
Oh,
man. They give me a fist pump. Why is that, Lupina? Why? I don't understand why.
I think it's one of those things that, especially being guys of our age, everywhere I go now, people call me sir. Um,
Right.
you start feeling like there's a certain segment of the population that no longer respects you or no longer looks at you. And the fact that you were able to pull a younger woman, it gives these guys hope, and it lets them know that maybe there still is a chance for me. Now this next question says, I mean, they probably talk about the same things that me and my grandpa talk about: school, work, kids, etc. What do you and your hot young wife talk about, Raul? How do you navigate that age gap? And she definitely has different interests than you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously the music sometimes and all that. I'm more of a, party animal. She's very low key. She doesn't like to party. She's not a drinker. I mean, she'll have a couple of drinks, but you know me, I like to party, man. A lot of my youth, and when I was coming up in the boxing world, I didn't have time to party like other people, normal people did, because I was so focused in boxing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did have my share, but ever since I retired, from boxing, it's different for me. If I want to drink, I want to drink. If I want to party, I want to party. I eat whatever I want to eat now. Obviously, you can tell I gained some weight, but we talk about our kids. We talk about our kids. We talk about now Liam that's in baseball. We have great conversations. I mean, it's not whoever said that. I'm talking like a grandpa. That again, that's you probably see that when there's a big age gap like this couple right here. We're talking about 50 years. That's a
She does
20.
expand your horizons. It's 50 years, 50 years. Yeah. So she does expand your
And
horizons. She's gotten you
yeah,
into trash TV. You become like this fan of like anything that has to do with the wives of so and so. You're keeping up with some of
I,
that,
I, yeah, I kind of
and
watched
she's
that.
and
I ended
she's
up liking it too.
also
I ended
yeah
up liking it.
she's also expanding your horizons. She taught you a new word this weekend. What was that new word, Diamante?
Oh, okay. No, not that she taught me that word, but I've heard people say it, the younger word, the younger people, and I'm thinking, you're flexing. So you're flexing, like it's almost like my muscle, you're flexing. So like, why is everybody using that? So Jeanette was using it the other day. I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't know who I was having a conversation. They were like, oh, they're flexing, So, anyways,
Yeah, and then you had to call me afterwards, and it took another 20 minutes for me to explain exactly where it comes from, what does it mean. So like when you send me the snapshots of your or the screenshots of your checking account, you're flexing.
that
You're flexing on me.
flexing. So,
You're
but I
flexing.
don't. Okay, but that is flexing like showing off. I'm not showing off. I'm just telling you what's
Well,
going on with the
you're
stock
just
market.
letting me know that you've got the power, that you're one up on me. It's a flex.
No,
You're
no, but
showing your strength.
see, but honestly, I don't see it like that because we always like when we have good days on the stock market. Oh, look, man, I made this kind of money. Oh, we lost whatever I lost, whatever you lost.
No, and if I tell you, okay, I
Compare
made
the,
I made this
the
much, then you do the multiplication. Like, okay, well, if you made those little pennies, then I must have made these
well,
huge amounts of money.
that right there is flexing. Yeah,
That
when
that's
I
that's
see that you lose a
definitely
couple of dollars and I lose a couple of $1,000, yes, that is flexing. Or you make a
uh,
couple of dollars and I make a couple of $1,000. Yeah, you're right. I get it. Hey, well, let me flex a little bit. Let me flex.
here's the final comment. It says, "Wow, a hot young woman dates an older rich guy. The love is definitely real." Now, you're a guy with significant assets.
Yeah,
There is some truth to this. You rarely see old broke guy with hot young girl. It's usually old rich guy with hot young girl. So how
yeah.
were you able to navigate that minefield? How do you know that she wasn't after the Diamante
Oh,
Millions? How do you know that?
very simple, Lupina. Like, first of all, you know when somebody means well. You know when somebody likes you and then starts loving you. You start a relationship uh, for yourself, not because you have assets or you're this or you're that. And of course, all that helps. A woman wants to get with a man that's financially stable. They don't want to get with a man that is broke or doesn't have no goals. Doesn't want to be successful. So uh, and on top of that, I have a lot of experience. I've been around. I'm 53 years old. It's not like I was just born yesterday. I've been around. I've been around, and my wife is very simple. I'm glad that she's very simple, and I've ran. I'm like, I've told you this before, and I told her before. She knows. I've ran different tests. Like where I knew, oh, she's the one. She's not with me for
Give us
for
an example. Drop some of that knowledge on us. What is
why?
one
It's
test?
something very
What is one
simple.
test you could run?
My wife will eat at as a matter of fact, would rather eat at a taco stand than eat a ribeye steak at Vic and Anthony's or Papa Seafood. Do we go there? Yeah, not every day. But have we been there? Yeah, we have a bunch of times. But she's very simple, man. Look, when your wife talks about making her pork, she calls it her pork tostadas with her famous salsa. The pork tostadas with just beans and cheese, Lupina, and her famous salsa. When she talks about she's happy eating that, that's when you found the good wife, the good person. You know what I mean?
Weenie con tortilla. That's
Yeah,
or or tortillas with just mantequilla, pure butter, when there was nothing to put in them.
That's when you know you
Reynosa
found the right
style.
one, bro.
That's when
That's
you
when you
know.
know you found the right one. Yes, sir.
That does conclude Noches de Perreo. As a matter of fact, Raul, that does conclude our fourth episode of Raul Marquez is Punchy with Lupe Contreras. As we mentioned to you, if this was a fight, it would be looking pretty sad. It'd be one sided. You'd have Jim
Man,
Blankley and Harold Letterman calling for the doctor to stop the fight. We've seen enough of this. The doctor be coming in to check on us. So please invite them, Raul. What do they need to do?
please, guys, like and subscribe to the Punchy Show. Me and Lupe Contreras, we've been friends. We're a married couple. That we talked about in a
We're
certain way.
frenemies.
Yeah, we've known each other for so many years. We got a lot of knowledge. We know boxing. We know about life. I'm married now, but Lupe is single. He knows about viejas. He's experienced. I've been experienced too. So hey, and by the way, Lupe is available too. Like he could give you a lot of knowledge too with
All right,
that.
all right.
So please
It's time to get
like and
off. It's time to cut
subscribe.
off the show. Like and subscribe. You see all our platforms. YouTube, Raul Marquez is Punchy with Lupe Contreras at Punchy Show on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. We will see you next week. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the subscribe. We're trying to get those numbers higher, man. Keep
Let's
keep
do it.
on cranking them
So
up.
sad.
Sad, bro. Until next time, we will see you guys.